and welcome to Your Broken Galaxy. Today I'm answering Captain Titus 4637's question, what if the Jedi joined the Separatists? So, everything has been heating up around the galaxy. After an attempt on Padme's life, she just walks into Palpalicious's office and starts having a little meeting with the Jedi, while Palpatine goes AFK and just stares out the window. She's like, Dooku was the one that hired the hit on me. And Ki-Adi-Mundi and Mace Windu are like, no, Duke's a good dude. Because the Jedi, they like their old boy, the Count. Anyway, a lot of crazy stuff happened with romance water fields and secret armies. It's a whole big thing. But then Obi-Wan, in his string of adventures, ends up getting caught by Dooku. And Dooku says, Obi-Wan, I want you to join me. A Sith Lord has taken over the Republic. And Obi-Wan says, well, you were once a Jedi Knight. All right, I'll do it. And Dooku says, what? Are you serious? I really didn't think you were going to join me. And Obi-Wan says, of course, man. The Jedi Council goes on and on about how darkness has fallen over the galaxy. I can imagine, Dooku says. Yoda's like a broken record. And Obi-Wan says, what's a record? And Dooku says, ugh, you kids. We used to listen to music. Never mind, Obi-Wan interrupts. I'm not interested in that anymore. And Dooku just looks at him with frustrated disdain for the young man. So Obi-Wan ends up contacting the council and is like, Dooku says a Sith is in charge of the Republic. And Mace says, that would explain why such an upstanding gentleman as Count Dooku would be engaging in this kind of political discourse that would otherwise seem uncharacteristic of him. So they send Depa Billaba, Mace, and Plo Koon to meet with Dooku, who, mind you, is still very confused that the Jedi are considering joining him. And Obi-Wan is like, yeah, apparently the Sith Lord is the one that had sent Darth Maul, but after the attack on Naboo failed, he just let Newt Gunray take the fall. And Mace says, how will we discover who this Dark Lord is? And Dooku is not exactly sure what to do. Mace and Plo Koon are some of the best saber duelists in the Order, and them working together along Obi-Wan and Billaba would overwhelm him almost immediately. But he isn't sure if he should betray Palpatine, or if he should turn on the Jedi right in front of him. And Billaba says, a difficult question, Master Windu, answering Mace. But then she says, Count, do you have any idea who it could be? And Dooku is like sweating and trying to decide in this moment if he's going to betray Sidious or go after the Jedi. And Obi-Wan says, yes, Master Qui-Gon always told me how much you hated corruption in the Senate. Perhaps this coalition of Separatists combined with the Jedi Order will be enough to take down the Sith Lord and shake the Republic into dealing with the corruption in their ranks and create a better galaxy for their Outer Rim worlds. And Dooku says, well, I suppose if I had to guess. And Plo, who has been standing there silent the entire time, just looking back and forth at everyone, says, are you guys freaking kidding me? What do you mean, Master Koon? Mace asks him. And Plo shakes his head and throws his hands in the air and says, you guys are insane. It's Palpatine. What? All the Jedi say simultaneously. Dooku's face contorts into panic and goes as white as a ghost. And Plo says, it's staring us in the face. Who's in charge of the Senate? It's Palpatine. How did he get in charge of the Senate? Well, by engineering a sympathy vote after his home planet was invaded. I mean, you guys saw the Sith murals in his office when we were there just a couple days ago. The guy has manipulated the entire galaxy. And Dooku, who is absolutely terrified that Plo is about to figure out everything, starts to slowly move his hand towards his lightsaber in case he needs to defend himself. And Plo says, and Dooku, figure it out. He is trying to stop him. What? Dooku says, and Plo continues, we need to join with Count Dooku and take down Palpatine. And Dooku, who is just terrified at what is going on here, says, yes. And Mace says, really? And Dooku says, yes. Plo Koon is absolutely right. Chancellor Palpatine is a Sith Lord. He must be stopped. And Mace says, well, all right then. And then Obi-Wan says, hold on a second. What about this clone army? Wasn't the bounty hunter Jango Fett involved? Why did he come here? And Dooku says, the clones, yes. Let me call for the bounty hunter. And he hits a button on his desk and says, Dolores, can you send Mr. Fett in here? And a moment later, Jango comes walking in and immediately grabs his blaster as the four Jedi turn to look at him. And Count says, Jango, good to see you. I was just telling our Jedi how you were tricked into being a model for the clone army and that you sought me out to try and save the galaxy. And since all of the Jedi are now looking at Jango with their lightsabers drawn, Dooku is doing the most over-exaggerated winking you can imagine to try and let Jango know that he just needs to go along with what Dooku is saying. Jango releases his blasters, which are still in his holsters, and says, "Right, I was recruited to do that." And Obi-Wan says, "Now hold on a minute. Didn't you just try and assassinate Senator Amidala last week?" And Dooku says, Master Kenobi, that wasn't Jango, it was one of the clones." And then Obi-Wan says, "Okay, but I was just at Kamino and found Jango there." And Dooku says, "Yes, it was only recently that Jango found out that the army wasn't actually sanctioned by the Republic. Think about it, Master Kenobi. How does the clone army even exist? It's an illegal force going against the very laws of the Republic." "Okay, but then why didn't he attack me?" Kenobi asks. And Jango says, "Now wait just a minute, Master Jedi. You drew your lightsaber before I drew my weapons. And I wasn't looking for a fight. I was just looking to leave with my son." And Obi-Wan stops and thinks about it for a second and says, "You know what? I'm sorry, Jango. It was rash of me to draw my lightsaber." Guys, I believe him. "It's settled then," Mace says. "The Jedi will join the Separatist alliance to overthrow the Sith, root out corruption in the galaxy, and ensure more just laws for the disaffected planets, particularly of the Outer Rim. Count Dooku, you'll go down in history as a visionary and a hero for this." And then Mace extends his right hand and Dooku says, "Well, I don't know about all of that, I just, And then he stands up straight and tries to put on a dignified expression, and he shakes Windu's hand, saying, "Thank you, Master Windu. We'll do it together." So the next day, Palpatine tries sending Dooku a holo call, but he doesn't answer. So Palpatine says, "Lord Tyrannus, the war is about to begin. The Jedi have discovered the clone army. Call me back, Kay?" And Dooku ends up pulling out his phone while he is alone and is like, "Okay, I can't do this. I'm so far in over my head right now, and Palpatine just left me a message." So he just lightsabers his phone, destroying it completely. The Jedi start slowly moving all of their assets off of Coruscant because they are afraid of what is going to happen when they try to take down Palpatine. Additionally, they have gotten their best Jedi detectives trying to do everything they can to get whatever information they can on Palps. By this time, Anakin has unfortunately taken the horribly, horribly dark step of destroying an entire village of Tuskens, and Padme is totally smitten with this red flag factory, but they send her off to Naboo with Anakin so the two of them can do everything they can on Sheev's homeworld to discover the truth about him. The next day, Palpatine sends another message to Dooku that says, "Darn it, Lord Tyrannus, answer your stupid phone. We gotta get this war rolling. Call me back." And then Palpatine is thinking to himself, "Kenobi went to Geonosis. Why isn't anything happening there?" And then he's like, "Oh no, did Kenobi end Dooku just like he ended Maul? Maybe I underestimated him." And so Palpatine thinks, "Oh, someone might have picked up Dooku's phone, and I mentioned the clone army. They may realize it's a trap." So he calls and says, "Hey, Count, I hope you're doing well. Sorry about the mix-up. Just ignore the last couple messages I sent you and, left on your machine. They were for someone else. Well, anyway, I hope you have a great day. Bye." So Palpatine is worried that he is going to be found out. And Anakin and Padme, that is exactly what they are doing. They fly to Naboo, have a super secret marriage, go on a week-long honeymoon in the Lake Country, and then, after that horrible waste of time, they start looking into sealed Nubian court records, which of course Padme would have access to. The Jedi have got all of their most important stuff discreetly moved off Coruscant, but there are still 100 Jedi just hanging around the temple with bug-out bags in order to keep up appearances. So for a couple weeks, Palpatine is just terrified, but when nothing happens, he decides that he is going to go ahead and try to get the war started. So he gets some of his secret Sith acolytes to do an attack on some planet and frame it on the CIS, who is currently trying to negotiate under Count Dooku's leadership. The Jedi are all gearing up for war, and the 100 Jedi in the temple, being led by Mace Windu, are training every day for an infiltration mission to capture Palpatine. And Palps, he ends up calling the Jedi, and Mace is all like, "Oh, Chancellor, how have you been?" And Palps says, "Master Windu, we could really use the Jedi's help in this war. Maybe you could, be generals or something." And Mace says, "Well, we really aren't soldiers. We're just keepers of the peace." And Palps says, "Oh, really? You don't say." And Mace says, "I do. Anyway, have a nice day." So Palpatine rallies the clones, and he says to the Senate, the CIS attacked. And oh look, we just happened to have this clone army materialize out of nowhere. It's a good thing that Jar Jar Binks was able to give me emergency powers, because I'm announcing the creation of a military. This military. And we're gonna attack these guys. And that night, it is on. Mace Windu, Plo Koon, and over 90 others all attack the Chancellor in his office. And Palps is like, what is the meaning of this? And Mace is like, we've discovered you were a Sith Lord. Count Dooku was right about you. And Palps says, wait a second, you're working with the Separatists? And Mace says, we're working against the Sith. And Palpatine says, huh? Who would have thought? It really is treason, then. And he jumps out, but like 100 Jedi just use the Force to push and pull him all over the place. The guy is tough, but like seriously, this is 100 Jedi, including Mace and Plo Koon. His saber gets ripped away, he is being hit with Psychic Blast to put him to sleep, and a good 30 of the Jedi are all just using their Force powers to hold him still, so he can't do anything. They end up capturing him and fleeing the planet. Meanwhile, on Naboo, Padme and Anakin were able to go through the native data sensors and look up Palpatine's internet history and discover that as a child he used his family's incredible wealth to look up and purchase a bunch of Sith artifacts and texts. Because, that's right, he wasn't using a VPN. And maybe you aren't either, but what do I care? I'm not being sponsored by a VPN company. Anyway, they also found out that all of the family security guards and all of his family mysteriously passed away when they were visiting him during college. It was only circumstantial evidence, but they thought it made a strong case. So the clones end up touching down on the various CIS worlds, and Wat Tambor says in a leadership council, so, are you Jedi going to lead the droids in battle? And Yoda says, lead them we will not. 1 trillion freaking clones you have. Just overwhelm them you shall, and the Jedi shall watch and give orders from safety. And Newt Gunray is like, yes, but Master Yoda, wouldn't it be easier and quicker if you just fought them? And Yoda says, stupid you are. Risk our lives we will not when limitless droids we have. And Newt is like, yeah, but those droids are expensive. So Plo Koon says, hey, idiot, we don't care. We'll run out on the battlefield as soon as you do, though, okay? And Newt just kind of sulks in the corner. But the droids are being destroyed in the tens of millions while they're still wearing down the clones. There's just too many droids. So Dooku is sending a message to the Senate saying, look, my noble senators, Palpatine's a Sith Lord. Where do you think he got this army from? He just magicked it out of nowhere to fight an unforeseen war. He's manipulating you. Call off the clones and let's settle this by working out some human's rights for the Outer Rim. And then Poggle the Lesser, standing next to him, clears his throat, and Dooku says, oh, I'm sorry, I meant sentient rights. Sheev is at this point utterly enraged. His fury, knowing no bounds, is causing him to just yell and scream all day. He is shackled and multiple force-canceling cuffs are placed on his hands. He is held in a special cell and monitored by 5 masters and 40 knights all day, every day, on an asteroid which doesn't have escape pods or even any ships on it. Finally, after a few months of negotiation, the Republic Senate agrees to hold a vote of no confidence in their previous chancellor, and Bail Organa is elected, and he says, we'll talk with the CIS. However, in a show of good faith, you have to release former Supreme Chancellor Palpatine. The evidence you have given against him is only circumstantial. And the Jedi are like, fine. So they pack him up in a force-blocking coffin thing and send him off to Coruscant. And when he gets there, he is freaking raging. He goes up to Bail and is like, my dude, we have to fight these guys. And Bail is like, no, the war is ended. And Sheev just whips out a lightsaber and stabs him right in the face. Since he is in Bail's office, he then uses the communicator to contact the clones and says, execute Order 66. But what are they going to do? They already had standing orders to take down the Jedi, but there aren't any Jedi around them. So Palpatine is like, fine, I'm Lord Sidious, your true master. All of you come to these coordinates for our attack. So the next day, the entire clone army shows up at Sereno, and Palpatine says, men, you fought admirably against the droid menace, but now it is time for us to take down the Separatist leader and the Jedi Order. There are over 500,000 of you left. I will lead you in glorious battle against the Jedi. You may perish. In fact, it is almost a guarantee. certainly, as this world has over 1 billion battle droids, but we are going to take them down. And all the clones are like, huh, neat. And so they invade. Well, that is my video for today. As you probably saw in the thumbnail, this is part 1 of 2, so the next video is going to be the actual fight with the Jedi leading the droids in wondrous and magnificent battle against Palpatine leading the Sith. If you have any recommendations for these videos, please feel free to put it in the comments below. If you want to support the channel, I do have Patreon, links in the description below, or you could become a channel member here on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and all that garbage.